All right, and we are back with another episode of The Journey with Brandon Thomas. I got some cue cards out that have nothing to do with this, but I got cue cards because it makes me feel official.
Got it. You
guys might not be able to see these cue cards, but Aaron will vouch. Cue cards are here.
He got a couple cue cards, actually. A few of them.
Yep.
And I'm nervous.
Good. Good. Be nervous. Okay, Aaron, let the people know who you are, what you do.
Who am I? My name is Aaron Bernard. I am a life coach, and I used to be a therapist. I love helping people, and I can't have this conversation going without saying I'm from New York City, but I've been to LA for mad long, but I'm a Brooklyn boy all day, every day, and I love California as well.
1 second, let me drop my air horn. I don't have a sound. I don't have a soundboard yet, so I got bam, 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 bam.
Hey.
Okay, there it is.
Gotta represent.
Yeah, the Brooklyn way. Okay, so basically, the journey, we talk to people about what is happening in their lives, where they are in their journey, the highlights of their journey thus far. Mm. And yeah, so this guy, we have known each other just the definition of an organic friendship, I would say, just seeing each other at a bunch of places, identifying each other as cool folks, and just always kind of rocked. So I was like, man, with this guy being a life coach, former therapist, I was like, this would be really dope to get him on the journey to talk about some of his favorite moments in being a life coach, and maybe what being a life coach means to him, and yeah, like, what does that entail? Like, talk to us, help us.
So, well, let's see, where do I start? So, before I get to the favorite moments, I think what I like to start off in saying is what it means to me to be a life coach. Actually, I'll go further back.
Okay.
So for me, I've been trying to figure out, like, I think a lot of people, like, what my purpose is. Mm-hmm. And in trying to figure out what my purpose is, I discovered that I believe that my purpose is to be a light. And a lot of people are living in darkness. And so, like, my father, he was in the entertainment industry, and I feel like they did him dirty a few times, and it affected him negatively. And I feel like I see a lot of him in a lot of my friends. I remember somebody saying that entertainment is like, loving somebody who won't love you back. And you still trying to make it work. Right. And they're like,
100%.
And so, with that being said, I just figured, like, my purpose is to be a light to all people in general, but being in LA, I would say also with an emphasis on, like, the creative population. So that's my purpose, and what being a life coach means to me is I get to fulfill my purpose. I get to help people every day. Literally every day, whether I'm at work or just at a party, at an open mic, at a grocery store. But that's my purpose. And the difference between a life coach and a therapist is that therapists, I used to do that. We would diagnose people with, like, depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and life coaches don't do that. They tend to focus more on the solution. And there's some similarities, like goal setting and accountability, but I feel like life coaching fits me a little bit more. Like, I don't always want to just focus on people's challenges and who they are in the label sense. Right. But more so from, like, who you are and who you want to be.
Totally. And do you think that going from therapist to life coach has, I would assume, given you valuable tools to be an even better life coach?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I wouldn't be who I am today without being a therapist. And I believe in therapy. Like, when my family members and friends have passed away, I've gone right back to therapy. Right. So I'm a huge advocate of therapy and coaching equally.
100%.
So that's
and I don't think
for the people.
No, totally. And I don't think you have to pick one over the other. I think they both serve.
It just one just serves me professionally more than the other.
And that's like super dope. And I think there are a couple of different, like, life coaches that I, like, subscribe to on YouTube that are, like, popping. I won't drop those names, or maybe I'll drop them in the bio. So if anyone's like interested, they can do that. But I don't want to spend the next whatever minutes. Okay, so here we go. Yeah. What has been your favorite parts of life coaching and or being a therapist thus far? Like, what have been your highlights? So this thing is like, right? This thing is like on the journey of life, right? You're gonna get to, like, if it were a race, at some point you would get to the end of the race and you would win. Mm-hmm. And I think today, it being Nipsey Hussle's birthday is kind of, like, special. Me being just, like, a California guy. Yeah. Between the IE and LA. Yeah. And yeah, so it's like there's so much love for Nipsey Hussle right now, and sure, people loved him when he was alive, but when he was alive, he didn't get this love.
No, he didn't.
You know, so this is like me celebrating people in their now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's like, that is the main thing. So I'm like curious, like, what have been your highlights? Like, what did you feel proud about? Because I'm sure, what did you feel proud about? I'm not gonna.
Can I go to Nipsey real quick?
Go ahead.
I didn't really know a lot about Nipsey until he died.
Wow.
And so...
Well, that's because you're from New York.
I know.
Yeah,
I mean, I knew who he was.
Right.
But I didn't know who he was.
Right.
And so I feel like just in terms of it being his birthday, I'm honored to be here. Because I feel like the more and more I started reading up on him, as a result of his unfortunate and untimely death, I was like, yo, this dude is amazing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. And so he inspires me now, unfortunately, in his death.
Right.
Or fortunately, but you know what I'm saying, in this untimely death, I feel like he's definitely a huge inspiration. I'm like, wow, this dude was amazing. So shout out to Nip and his family. Prayers up to them. And to answer your question, you know, I have a few moments, but I remember like I've had people start seeing me maybe because their family gave them an ultimatum, their parents, or just a significant other, and they're like, I'm not trying to do therapy, I'm not trying to do life coaching in both arenas. And there's nothing like having people who are very ambivalent, reluctant, even aggressive. I mean, I've had clients like be really, really scarily aggressive.
Right.
And you have to man up a little bit in those moments and be like, I'm not the one.
That reminds me of I don't know if you've seen Good Will Hunting.
I have, actually.
Good Will Hunting, when Will and the Robin Williams character, like, they get into it a couple times.
Yeah.
Robin Williams is like, knock if you buck.
Yeah. And you gotta come, and I'm not like angry, I'm not like, not on my watch. I love Ayanla, but that's not me, generally speaking. But, you know, but there are a few times that you have to not on my watch. And with that being said, I had a few clients, one client threatened to choke me. He was so angry about some things, and it was misplaced anger or frustration.
Right.
And so, like, I remember when it was time for me to end with him, after, you know, doing work and what have you, he was like, where you think you're going? You went from choking me to not wanting to, like, let me go. Right. He's like, we got more stuff to do. We got more work to do. And so for me, it's like having those moments are just like, they gratify me in so many, like, I feel selfish, but like, it makes me feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
100%.
So it's those moments that like mean the most to me.
100%. Because I think it's like, so I'm in a place, right? In this like past year, from 29 to 30, I have grown exponentially. You know what I mean? And it's like, and it's all internal, with a couple like outside things that people, if they're watching, they see. But those aren't really like the highlights for me. But it is the renewing of my mind. How about that? We're gonna go biblical.
I like that.
That I have truly experienced, and that I think is like super special. So it's like, for you to be talking about somebody, and again, to change somebody's mind. Yeah. Is special, you know what I mean? And it's not like easy stuff, and it's not something that everybody is willing to do, or everybody is willing to get in the space of. When I look at people in my family, and I'm like, man, I just want to cut the time that it took them in half. Yeah. Because you know, these generational things I'm aware of. Very aware. You know what I mean? But I'm like, if I can cut it, you know what I mean? If it took you to, if you didn't figure it out to 70, or you're still working on it at 70, if I can get it done by 35, I did all right. You winning. You know what I mean? And of course, the sooner the better. But you know, you try to be as kind to yourself as you can, is what I'm learning in my adult life, and through acting class. You know, you learn a lot of these things because you have to develop different characters. You have to understand all these different people. Yeah. So if you're smart, you're developing some compassion too, because you realize that these bad people aren't. They may be bad, but they may not be bad on purpose.
They might be hurting and acting out of their hurt.
Hurting, misguided,
not informed.
The whole deal.
Ignorant.
Or just haven't sat down and tried to fix their shit.
So what's interesting for me is this is actually what's really big, because I didn't see that question coming. Like, the most important things for me, I think what's even more important than just my clients writing me on Instagram, like, yo, it's been a couple of years, I want you to know I'm in college, I'm doing good, or I got a family, or can you officiate my wedding?
Wow.
Crazy. I'm like, I'm not even a pastor.
Wow.
You know, they was like, well, just go get the certificate.
Right.
We want you to do it like this right now. It's a current situation where a client wants me to officiate their wedding. So those are all beautiful and amazing, and they actually like really touch my heart and they humble me. But I think what humbles me more than that is that I feel like I've gotten to work on me, and all I know is I'm a work in progress. And then also my family, because like no one in my family ever had therapy prior to me. Not saying like it's me, but like prior to me becoming a therapist.
Right.
Like more family members are more open to it.
That's amazing.
And so I think like that's pretty dope. Like so for me, like the biggest thing is like I got through this process of coaching, I got to work on me, and I got to see my family also grow. Which is breaking the generational curses and stuff that you talked about.
You are changing the minds of people, you know what I mean, and changing the perception of things. And you know, and I'm a producer on this platform called Can I Be Vulnerable?
Ooh,
where we basically interview black men and give them the space to be vulnerable. You know, so it's like all the stuff that you're talking about. We're on like episode maybe like 40 something.
Wow.
And you know what I mean? And it's like, it's so true. And it's like the stigma of black men in therapy. Me growing up, you know, therapy was for white folks. Therapy is for, you know, if you're crazy. You know what I mean? But I'm like...
Or even the look of the therapist.
Yeah?
Because I go to work like this.
Oh, yeah.
Gold chains, rings,
right. There it is. Right. And he's quite... You may not be able to see this, but he's
Jordans.
Quite stylish right now. But I think that is relatable. And I think that if I saw a therapist that looked like me... Mm-hmm. Maybe initially I'd be like, but I think that I would definitely to some degree feel more comfortable that I'm not about to be assessed by somebody. You know what I mean? And even if I ain't being assessed, I would at least be disarmed while being assessed, which I think matters, you know, just as much. Yeah. So yeah, man, that's like, again, that's super dope, and I think that therapy is important, and I think it is. You know, as I'm learning through this Can I Be Vulnerable platform, it's like, it's a thing. And like people are going through it and people are changing and people are growing. And I think it's like, whew, I watched a sermon and, you know, this pastor was talking about, you know, it's either growing or it's dying. Mm. And I was like, man, and you really hate to look at stuff like that, but it's like, is it getting better or is it getting worse? You know what I mean? And it's like, again, I think as humans, we find ways in the middle that are just like not quite, or you can justify like some gray area. But truly, if you know what I mean, or if somebody came to you for advice, you'd be like, nah, or you'd be like, yeah. But when it's you like, well, I understand the nah because, you know what I mean. It's like some stuff in the middle. So I think it's interesting sometimes just to look at stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think the cool thing about therapy and coaching is that it takes you from just existing to living. Oh. You know what I mean? Well, I like and that's because a lot of people are not even living with like intention or on purpose. They're just going through a routine. They're on autopilot. 100%. The turn up is autopilot. The work routine is autopilot. A lot of the day-to-day routine is just like straight up monotonous and repetitive. And then they wake up one day and they're a certain age and they're like, yo, what the hell have I done? You know, all this time has passed. So I think, like, for me, it's like, I'm really into the space of, like, are you living on purpose? Look, are you living or are you existing?
Let me tell you something. I have, there's a guy named Tim Ferriss who he has a podcast, and he interviews successful people about not just interviewing successful people, but their inner workings. What do they do to get successful? What is their day-to-day routines, right? And he introduced this thing called the 5-Minute Journal. I have a motivational email series called The Long Text.
I know you had all this stuff going on, Brandon.
Look at that hashtag the long text. Hey, and you know, I put out his 5-minute journal, and basically it's 3 things you're grateful for in the morning, 3 things that if they happen today would make the day awesome, because it programs your mind to find these things. Like when you put so your brain is like from what I understand, your brain is like a map, excuse me. So you'll put the destination in, and then your brain will map it out. You know what I mean? If you maintain that destination. And then the last thing is you put something that you're grateful, or you put one positive affirmation. So I am, boom.
Love it.
And what I found out is the mornings that I do my 5-minute journal, I am way more intentional And sometimes I can get into funks where I just get out of bed, I put on some sports radio, shower, eat breakfast. You know what I mean? So when you said just monotonous, just unintentional, I had a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, where I was like, man, I just blew a week because I was just alive. You know what I mean? And it's like sometimes you have these like crazy moments where something happens and you're like, I'm gonna start living today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like these little things that you can put into place that make sure, or at least help spark those daily wake up and goes.
I don't want to say this too. Like, I feel like I talk to my other therapist friends, other life coach friends. Like, the one thing I also love about this is that my journey, that is, because we're on the journey.
Hey, with Brandon Thomas.
Hey, is that like, yo, we're all human. So I feel like there are times like I have to call my friends. This is where like a good support system comes in. And I'm like, yo, and I curse, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
Got it.
But I'll be like, yo, I ain't doing shit with my life.
Cussing right now.
Yeah. I'm like, yo, I ain't doing shit with my life. It's just a fucking waste. I'm not doing anything. And then they'll remind me like all that I've done. And I think it's very normal for all of us to go through that space of like, yo, I just wasted a week. And sometimes you actually did waste a week.
Right.
Or sometimes, you know, you just needed a break. But sometimes you wasted some time. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think the key is that like, A, we all go through those moments. And then B, what shows that you're a little bit more elevated and is that you're aware.
Right.
And so, like, a lot of people are not even ever really aware, per se.
And
so I just want to say kudos to you for even being like, yo, I wasted a week, because some people are wasting years.
Right.
And decades. So, like, I just want to say it's normal. And then I also feel like, just to the journal part, I haven't been writing as much lately, but I have a gratitude journal and I have a regular journal. And I write the whatever, good, bad, in between, in the whatever journal.
Right.
But the challenge for me is sometimes, like, writing in my gratitude journal when things are not going great. That's the hard growing part for me.
Right.
And that's what I usually try to challenge myself to do. Like, yo,
100%.
life is effing crazy right now.
Right.
But you know what? There's still something to smile about. There's still something to be grateful about. And so, anyway.
For me, I start the day with the gratitude journal.
Bomb.
I get 3 things that I'm grateful for. And I think it's like,
I love it.
And what I really challenge myself, or what I sometimes can beat myself up, is how quick it takes me.
Yeah.
Or how fast it takes me. Because I'm like, yo, like, you don't understand. Like, for me, I'm always this thing where I'm like, I don't want to have to lose it to appreciate it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need, and I'm spiritual and biblical. It's like, I don't need God to take it from me to appreciate it. Like, and it's so simple. Like, my hands work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, my feet work. And it's like these things that sometimes the life may not be ideal, but there's just so much things that work on folks that are next to you, that if it's just a physical, like, literally my hands work. I got 10 fingers. And it's like
10 working fingers.
10 working.
Because they could not be working.
Look,
could be in a cast.
Off of anything, and it doesn't take some wild thing to, you know what I mean, for it not to be working tomorrow. So it's like, for me, to you is like, again, with this 5-minute journal, I start
your day
every day every day that I journal with the gratitude, and it just helps it. It just helps it just get that out there.
I love it.
Oh yeah, I'm grateful. You know what I mean? As soon as I get up, oh yeah, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
And then as you start to set the day, if you haven't set it the night before, because sometimes if you set it the night before, you wake up with intention. In opposition to in the morning setting intention and then going from there. But when you wake up with intention, sometimes you don't need an alarm clock.
Period.
You know what I mean? Sometimes if that objective is great enough, you know what I mean, it's gonna flow you through the night.
Interestingly enough, too, like to your like, I have 2 things to say. I'm gonna try to put them together.
Okay, here we go.
The first is that, like, in terms of starting your day, people are like, oh my God, you're always so happy. I'm not always happy. No one's always happy, right? But I think no one's always happy. And to me, what's crazy is, I'm gonna squeeze in a third point. My old professor, rest in peace, Dr. Bothwell, he said there's a difference between happy and joy. Happy is when you get $1 million. You're happy. You lose that joint, you're unhappy.
Right.
Joy is something that remains consistent. So I try to keep my focus on the joy and the things that stand. Like I have peace, I have family, I have love, and I remember those things. And in the morning, I feel like my routine is I'm an educated black man, but I'm also slightly ghetto and ratchet in a fun way.
Right.
So, but I usually start my day off with gospel,
Right, man.
and then I start my week off. And most of my days with things to do lists.
Right.
So I feel like to what you're saying, I don't do the gratitude journal every day, which I'm going to challenge myself on that. Studies show that when you write things down, you increase your chances of that thing happening by 90%. So if you have 0 chances of that thing happening, you now have 90% chance of making it happen. So, and then Habakkuk 2, since you said you're from the church world, it says, write the vision, make it plain.
Make it plain.
So whoever may read it may run it, or they'll see it come to pass. So between statistics or science and spirituality, writing things down is huge.
Right.
And so I feel like I like what you're saying is beautiful because it's very intentional. It's scientifically and biblically proven that when you write things down, you're gonna have more pep in your step. You're gonna feel more on it, task oriented and stuff like that. So for me, I definitely write things down, and I also try to like be intentional about how I start my morning. So like acknowledgement, prayer, gratitude, gospel music. Like I have a good morning playlist. I'll be mad lit in the shower in the morning.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, and sometimes it's ratchet, but like I definitely make sure I listen to gospel to start my day. And I'm not promoting religion, but I'm just saying that's what I do for me.
Perfect.
That's on my journey.
I agree.
Keep me grounded.
And look, so check this out. So we're literally in my room right now, and a buddy of mine in Normantown. Shout out to Norman.
What up, Norman? I love Norman.
You know Norman?
My homie. What? I love Norman. He's my neighbor. Technically, I ain't seen him yet. But.
Small world alert. So literally, we're FaceTiming, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is my house," and he boomed it on the other side, and it showed the wall, and he had this big dry erase board.
Wow.
And literally, I was like, "Yo, wait, show me that again." And he was like, "Yeah," and he just kind of showed me some of his system. And literally 2 days later, I went and got a dry erase board, and it's like the visual of these things is like, it is something that's so refreshing that you don't understand. And again, I got all this stuff written down in a notebook somewhere, but when you close that notebook, until you open that notebook, it's not, you know what I mean? It's not present.
Right.
But when I get out of my bed, when I open my eyes, the first thing I see is, you know what I mean, what I got on the docket, what I'm working on in each area of my life.
Love it.
And
I see my name, so look, it came to pass.
Boom! That's crazy. Literally, you're right there. So I think that's like super dope to, again, just kind of like the correlation and stuff. And it's like, for me, one of my biggest things that I'm always preaching is judge a tree by its fruit. And okay, so we get a dry erase. You see something, you see it work for that person, you try it. So I planted this seed. I'm looking at the fruit. The seed said apple. I got apple. I'm looking at apple. You know what I mean? So I'm good with that. But when it say orange and I get an apple, you know what I mean? Then it don't vibe. And people, and again, it's actions, that are the main thing when, socially, what I like to call verbal judo is that, I can tell you anything. I can shine it up. I can make it. I could make it sound
we're
nice.
all good at that.
Verbal judo, right?
But for me too, like I think like. Not taken away from the board, because I think I actually have Post-its.
Okay, right.
So I got my visual little thing too.
Same idea.
But I feel like I remember, like, this is my little testimony since we're going a little churchy-ish. I wrote down that I was at this job. I hated it. I loved my clients, but my boss at the time was a piece of work.
Okay.
And so I was like, I can't do it. I had no windows for my office. So I was like, I can't do it. So I wrote down, I was watching the study, like the study show, when you write things down, you increase your chance of it happening by 90%.
Right.
Wrote down that I wanted to move to LA because I was living on the outskirts in the IE. I was living like San Bernardino, Riverside.
That's what's up.
Went to Loma Linda.
Right, okay. Glad you
So we said IE. Woo, we both made it, right?
Yeah, well, I was in Rancho Cucamonga repping my game.
Nice.
You better believe that, boy.
So I wrote down, like, move to LA. I wrote down, make a certain amount more, $10,000 more at the time.
Okay.
And I wrote down that I wanted a job where I want to be in an office. And I'd be on wheels. That was on Sunday. I wrote down Habakkuk 2 verse 2, meditate on it. There's some other stuff on there.
Boom.
And I went to work on the next day. was a Monday, and I was like, yo, where's Keisha at? And I was looking for my homegirl because Keisha's my homie. I don't really make a lot of friends at work. I'm friendly with everyone, but I don't make friends at work, right?
That's a wet.
So I was like, where's Keisha? Keisha wasn't there. Long to the short is, Keisha's like, yo, hey, she calls me a few hours later. She's like, yo, I'm in LA. I just applied for this job. I was like, what? I was just writing down that I want to look for another job. That's so crazy. I'm so happy for you. She was like, yeah, but that's the thing. I'm calling because they're looking for a male therapist too. And this job is in LA, and it's about $10,000 more. And we're not gonna be in an office no more. We're gonna be driving to people's houses. I was like, excuse me?
I'm about to shout. I'm about to shout. What?
You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
And the other part that I wrote down was move to LA within 6 months. I didn't have a plan. It was January at the time. I forgot the year. I'll get the year to you in a second.
Okay,
January 2008.
Boom, 2008.
And so, long to the short is, I was like, yo, this is crazy. Keisha, I just wrote this stuff down. She's like, yeah. Called the lady up, interviewed, applied, got the job. 2.5 weeks later, I was at this new job.
Boom.
In LA. So now I'm unpacking my boxes I finally moved.
Right.
And I found my list that I did not have up in my face.
Right.
But I wrote it down and I prayed over that joint.
100%.
And I just had faith that some stuff was going to happen. And it was like move to LA within 6 months. And I was like, I started counting. I was like month 5.5. I had an apartment by myself in Glendale, which is LA County.
Yeah, that counts.
So I was like, what?
Glendale counts.
You know what I'm saying? From Sanford and Ghetto to Glendale.
I was trying to get that part out, right.
So I just want to say, like, you know, I truly believe in writing things down. And just, you know, sometimes you got to be intentional. Well, most times. But sometimes just writing it down, man. There's 100%. Power in that, too.
Because, like I was saying earlier, then your brain...
Gonna map it out.
It's going to do its best to get you to that destination. Now that it is, you know, it knows.
Yeah.
But, dude, that's epic.
Yeah, man.
That's epic.
And I write everything down, man.
But look, that's like one of those things that, like, to celebrate. You know what I mean? That's like one of those things like, man, congratulations. Like,
thank you.
You did that. And sure, there was some other...
You did that, but yeah.
And you the vessel. You know what I mean? But it's just kind of like, yo, that's like something, because what happens to a lot of people is they don't make it this far.
Nah, they don't.
You know what I mean? Like, I had a friend of mine, she was like, oh, this person been in LA for 7 years. And I'm like, yo, that's like major. Like, people be here for 7 months. People be here for 7 days and be like, this ain't what I thought it was, or this consumed me and spit me back out. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh no. So it's like, man, it is, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
To have met you on this journey, and I'm grateful for I'm grateful for this story that you're telling to other folks, because it's like, it's so obtainable, and it's so obtainable when you see somebody else do it.
Yeah.
And again, and this ain't the I hit the lottery story.
Nah.
You know what I mean?
I had hardship since then too.
Completely. And you ain't done. You know what I mean? But it's just kind of like to make it this far, to be prepared enough to be qualified for the new position. Because it's not like she could have just called anybody. She called me and been like, they need a therapist. Bye-bye. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how it works. But you worked prepared. Exactly. You worked hard enough to get to this point, to be eligible for this thing, for the opportunity to come and you be ready.
Yeah.
And then to walk into this door, which then transition into this whole life that you know what I mean, that you intended to live, that you're currently living.
Yes.
With, you know, dreams of more grandeur, I'm sure, as you progress and as your goals change and the things that you want for your life change. But it's like, up to this point, like, you've balled, you know what I mean, to some degree that, you know, you may not accept as like fully balling, or like what you define as balling. And when I use the term balling, I don't want it to sound like a monetary thing or like a thing, but it's like, you know, for me, like, balling is like doing it. You know what I mean? It's like doing it and doing it well without sounding like LL Cool J, but you get it. You know,
I feel like a lot of us are living the dream. We may not be living our greatest fantasy, but we are living the dream. Like, we're alive, we're here, we're doing so much. Like, you and I have been in places that we probably shake our heads at.
Dude.
Like, I'm looking at your basketball, everybody's signature on the Clippers. Like, that, people dream of those moments.
Let me tell you something. I've been to the Philippines, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I've been to Manila, and it's like, on them days that you think you got it bad, it's not. You know what I mean? Because, like, I'm getting, and of course, you know, we got a poverty problem here, we got a mental health problem with homeless people, the whole deal.
Yeah.
But I'm like, these is the adults. When I'm going abroad to these places, I'm getting hit up by children.
Same.
children.
Insane.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, dog, we got the Ronald McDonald House. These kids out here, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that it's not happening to kids, but I'm like, these conditions that I witnessed, where you just see babies just out on the street, you know what I mean? You're like, man, like, blessed.
When the show's done, I'll show you a picture. But when I went to South Africa, the gap between the have and the have-nots is so crazy. Yeah. And the have-not moment, so to speak, they have love and they have like family and community. But in terms of like running water,
but not much else, right?
In terms of like electricity and things like that, you're like, yo, some people are really struggling in this world. And it literally shifts your perspective. You're like, yo, we're actually doing pretty good.
100%.
We're doing really good.
You know what I mean? Especially for me sometimes, again, because I'm just tough on myself because I want these things, and sometimes it's like, you know, again, you're just constantly grinding that just trying to get there, and it's like, man, I want this much in my savings, man, I want this much. I'm like, yo, these people don't have no bank. You know what I mean? And it's not
no bank,
just no bank. Like I'm not even gonna go no wallet.
They don't know where their food's coming from next.
They're asking somebody from a whole nother part of the world for money for their food.
It's humbling, man. It also makes you grateful. And there's still nothing wrong with you wanting what you want.
Yeah,
but it just balances, like, I think it balances our perspective. You're like, yo, still work hard, but man, be grateful for what we have and how far we've come.
And you don't need to kill yourself to get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, the second that you ain't slept in 3 days, you know, you need to just kind of lock in and just be like, yo, you know, is this, where does it end? You know what I mean? Because I've definitely had some days where I done went from this job to this job to this job to this job. Wow. And I'm like, wow, what? You know what I mean? As you come back in that day to breathe, you're like, oh, I just broke my whole back for X amount of dollars.
Right.
That ain't life-changing money. You know what I mean? And you're like, man. And of course, sometimes that is mandatory to get to these next spots, but it's like you can't just run your whole world like that.
You gotta sleep. It's so crazy too, like nerd fact, like they say at least 50% of mood disorders are caused by a lack of sleep. So it's really important that we get sleep. You just get anxious, you get a little depressed, a little bit stressed. Totally. So yeah, but I feel you, and you're working for, like you said, not what you're really, really wanting. So, you know, 100%. Perspective. But it means you got good work ethic, though.
Yeah, but shoot. I'm tired, bro.
Tired. Kelly Price tired.
Look, and for me, I feel like when I'm tired, I am vulnerable in the sense of my filter is gone. I'm not angry. I'm just direct. And I think that
don't care no more.
And I think that the directness is not my go-to suit when I deal with people 90% of the time. So when I get direct, people think I'm upset, and I'm like, no, I'm just not. I'm not playful. You know what I mean? I'm not delivering it. Now. I'm not delivering it with any sugar. This is spice. This is what I need, and we're going straight to it. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Facts.
Gotta get some rest.
Gotta get some sleep, bro.
Oh my goodness. But man, that's what's up. You ever miss New York?
Do I ever? Oh. They can't see my face. That's absolutely yes.
Okay.
I miss New York, but I mean, you know what's crazy is like I've really set up my life here, but it's hard. Like literally, like I would say 99% of my family's in New York. So my mom, my dad, my grandparents, my siblings, my nieces and nephews, like cousins, aunts, uncles, like they're not all, but like the family I was raised with, they're pretty much in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey. So I miss them. I don't miss the snow.
Right, that's what
you know what I'm saying.
Can you beat this weather? Like, what you gonna do?
But you know, the energy of New York is just like, and I love LA. That's why I'm here. But I will say, like, snow, rain, heat, cold. It don't matter. Like, New Yorkers are gonna live and they're gonna make it do. They had a blackout recently. My mom was on the phone. She's like, yeah, you know, the neighbors are barbecuing. They got their street. Like I was there for blackout, and it was a repeat. Like when I was there. People just turned their car lights on, blasted the music from the car. Yeah. Anybody live on this block? Like, come get some food. Right. And people just we had no electricity in 2003, and they did the same thing. Again, people like had a blackout. It's like, yo, y'all all right? And like, so New York is like, people think that we're a bunch of mean people, but there's like a great sense of community there too.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like the energy
Like
is
Survivor,
good.
you know, it's mean, but
it ain't mean. We're misunderstood. It's 8 million people, 9 million people.
Okay.
Brooklyn got like over 1 million people alone. That's just 1/5 of New York City.
Right. Okay. I'm just saying, LA got 20 million people.
Well, you remember your direct?
Cool. We cool.
That's what we are. We're direct.
But that's only when I'm tired. So
it's a lot of walking in New York. You be tired.
We're praying for New York. We're praying for
You've been
New
York.
Absolutely.
What was that like for you?
It was cool. I was young. I haven't been in a while, and the closest I've been recently is Virginia. So yeah, not quite the same.
We'll get you to like a Brooklyn Nets or Knicks game.
Yeah.
So only because you love basketball, not because you love the team.
I was about to say, you know, it's LAC.
I know you were doing that like a ride or die.
Fair enough. Yeah, definitely. I got to get some 6-inch Timbs and really get my wheat boys and be out there strutting. See what it's about, you know what I mean?
I low-key need to buy some new Timbs too, man.
See?
It's just too hot out here for Timbs.
There's one day of the year to wear them. Christmas Eve, and then throw them away. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I want winter coats there too. I don't even have no winter coats here.
Yeah, you don't need them. Ain't no winter.
Nah. It's amazing. But I do miss it. I love New York, man. But I feel like when I go back there, I feel like I come back here with a focus.
Right.
I'm rejuvenated and I'm ready to hustle. Like,
right.
There's this energy there that just
and exactly. That's what I hear about New York. Is like the New York hustle is like the thing.
I'm like, yo, what am I doing? I'm not even doing it. I gotta like on that plane ride, bro. Yeah. I'm right now my whole life like. It's almost like caffeine. Like it's like a, I don't know what Adderall. I'm not promoting pills, but I be like, ooh, I'm focused.
Right. That's so funny. You know when I feel like that? One time I felt like that. The most purest time, I'm gonna say. We went to Miami. I was in college, right?
Yeah.
And we went to Miami. We got into there was a club under Live called Arcadia in the Fountain Blue. It's underneath. Mm-hmm. And we went, and me and my buddy, we were partying. We were having a great old time at the club, dancing, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then literally, like, right next to us, these dudes pulled up. They, like, walked in. It was, like, 30 of them with 70 girls to boot. And it was a guy who plays football. His name was Jonathan Vilma. And he had bought the section. And they had bottles. All the girls was over there. We was just dancing in the area, you know what I mean, with just like the commoners.
Yeah.
And then there was girls that were looking at us, but because we wasn't in the section, they wouldn't cross the rope. And I was young, you know, I was in college. I didn't even really realize like what was going on. Of course, you know, as I get older, you understand that the girls are with the bottles and this whole thing. But I just remember being like, I ain't never gonna be like this in the club again. I'm about to go back and go to work. And I definitely came back to California, did a bunch of work. I yet to buy a bottle in the club just because it's not.
You don't have. Well, your viewers need to know that you don't have to because you're still on the other side of the rope now. You ain't never been back.
Yeah, I know.
I see you on the other side of the rope.
But I ain't bought no bottles. I'm just saying.
The bottles ain't cheap.
Yeah, but yeah.
I got you though.
You understand?
That was your moment.
That was my New Yorker. That was my true like. Oh no, I need to
work. Yeah, I got you.
This ain't sweet,
it
boss. Ain't. But yeah, no. When he came in and again, Jonathan Vilma was a star at the time, but he wasn't LeBron. Right. You know what I mean? But in that moment, he was.
He was doing it though. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's funny. I tell people, I'm like, oh girl, you the Beyonce of this. Because I'm like, Beyonce is no longer like just a name, it's an idea. You know what I mean? It's like
she's a class.
You're the Beyonce in here today, and it's not that you look like Beyonce or you are the top, the elite,
creme de la creme.
You know what I mean?
Like, you got all the sound effects.
All the above. You know what I mean? And I think LeBron is moving to that space too, where he's just he LeBron'd it that night, where I was just like, boom. He wasn't in. Now I look back on it, I'm like, well, this is probably like ideal because he wasn't at Live, like he wasn't in the main club, but it wasn't Sunday, so that wasn't the thing. You know, we went to Live on Sunday, and this was during the time when Lil Wayne put out Live on Sunday, King of Diamonds Monday. So we did it just like that.
Wow.
But on this night, we met a promoter, and he was like, oh, just come to Arcadia.
Got it.
And, so we went there. And again, he played it perfect. You know, you go on an off night, and you kill it.
Yeah.
And from then, I was so motivated, like, book it.
I love it.
Let's get to it.
Book it.
Okay.
See, I'm so motivated too, man. It's nothing like it. I feel like it gives me like that extra like kick to just live and go a little harder. It makes life more fun to live, if you will.
Totally.
So yeah, I'm always looking to be motivated.
All right, here we go. Next question.
Let's do it.
In your journey right now, where do you think you are?
Ooh, where I'm supposed to be.
Ooh, I like that. Okay. Question 2. If you could title this part of your journey, what would it be called?
The first word that comes to me is growing. The second word that comes to me is doing. So growing and doing.
That's strong. That is strong because I think, again, the way I'm set up is doing. I hear doing, then I think action, then I'm like, I don't need anything else after that, you know?
And when I say doing, I think doing is what you said. And for me, it's also like what's stopping you from doing. Because in order to do, you got to know what your strengths are and what your kryptonites are. So like what's the thing that's stopping you from maybe being your best self? And so I feel like I'm growing and that I'm learning like what my strengths and my challenges are. And like, cause new challenges arise, and so like I'm like, okay, what are my new challenges? What are my new and then like new goals are coming up too. So I'm like, all right, well, how do you juggle this? How do you make this happen? Which is more real? Is just like a random cool idea? Is this, is this like? And then sometimes I feel like I self-sabotage in the past. So part of me is like recognizing and calling myself out on stuff. So I'm growing, learning myself, and I'm writing things down and trying to make some stuff happen, like buy apartments. I want to buy apartments and stuff like that.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's epic. Well, is there any last words you want to leave the people with?
Ooh, last words. I can say a lot, but I just want to say, I'll leave some last words, but first and foremost, if anybody is thinking about getting therapy or coaching, therapists are human. We're not perfect. But most of us do it because we love people. We love helping people. And, if you go to therapy or if you've been to therapy and you had, or life coaching, a bad experience, I compare it to jeans. Like, it'll say for men 32 by 32, 34 by 34, but you try that joint on, you'll be like, ooh, I'm built a little differently. This don't fit. But you don't give up on jeans because they don't fit. You just go to a store that has the right fit.
Right.
So I think therapy's the same way, or life coaching. Like, you just got to go and find the right fit. And maybe you could interview people ahead of time, like, yo, do you deal with X, Y, and Z? And, like, fill them out over the phone ahead of time. But I would suggest, like, don't be afraid to be the best version of you. Beyonce, Jay-Z, Oprah, Bill Gates, they've all had therapy. They sometimes still get it. And all the great people that I've worked with Oscar winners, Grammy Award winners, and you'd be surprised, like, the people that I work with, you're like, yo, they have a whole village and team. They don't do it by themselves. They make it look easy,
right?
But some of the people that we most admire get support from another party called a life coach or a therapist. So, I don't think anyone's too good for it. I think everybody would benefit from it. And when you know how to, and last couple things, when you know how to communicate and you know how to forgive, you'll be such you being whoever's listening, you'll be a bomb person. I'm still working on forgiveness, but my professor said, Aaron, if people were to just forgive a little bit more, we'd probably be going out of business. And so to me, I was just like, dang. So work on your forgiveness, work on your healing. Right. People got post-traumatic stress because it's hard to let go, and depression and anxiety. So like, in communication is breaking up marriages and money as well. So I feel like, go to therapy, like get an objective, non-biased opinion. Nothing wrong with talking to your family or friends, but sometimes they're not equipped to deal with the stuff that people have. Right. So I would recommend go get that help so you could be the best husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, employee, son, daughter, mother, father, whoever you are.
Right.
Homie around the way.
Right.
So just go get help. And if you don't like the first person that you help, that's helping you, give it a chance, but if not, go get somebody else. But, like, you're worth the investment. We put all this time into clothes and money, but, like, you need a mind to enjoy the money and the successes of life and the emotion wherewithal to deal with it. So, boom.
I love that. And I think what resonated with me with what you just said, I probably should just, like, hit the end button. This boy out here going off. Is that you said support.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that just puts, like, a different spin on it. I think sometimes, like, therapy, when you hear about it, when you think about it, it sounds like damage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which can be the case. But what if, you know what I mean? But what if you're just trying to fortify something? You know what I mean? Or what when they're planting a tree. You know what I mean?
Right.
They'll put up a stick next to it just to make sure it grows right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I just think to hear support, it gives it another place to be instead of this negative stigma that I think it has.
And most people, like in my experience, they tend to wait till they're in crisis mode. So that's why people probably think like therapy or life coaching, you're in a shitty place.
Right.
But like, why wait till things are so bad? Like, be proactive and go a little earlier and know you're not the crazy person, you're the proactive person.
100%.
Shift the narrative, and like when you go a little earlier, you go in when things are way more solvable, more fixable. So, you know, it doesn't have to be a crazy place. Sometimes people go to therapy because life is crazy, and that's cool. But it doesn't always have to be that.
Right.
Sometimes, like a few of my friends died, I was like, ooh, I feel me getting out of pocket. I wasn't crazy.
Right.
I wasn't crying in my sessions with everybody, but I was like, let me just make sure I do a little tweak, a little support moment,
right,
and go. And I was able to, I feel like, recover, if you will, so much better because I didn't wait till things were crazy.
I love it.
So, yeah, man, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
This is epic. Yeah, I think that we have stumbled into a lot of great things, but this was fantastic. Like, you killed this.
You killed it. You asked the questions.
You led me to these questions. I am
bro.
merely just sitting here in admiration. So shout out to Aaron Bernard for coming through, killing the pod.
Follow me on Instagram.
What's your Instagram?
At TrendyNerd23.
Boom.
That's
Is
it.
there any? That's it. Just IG, no Twitter, no Facebook. You're not doing Facebook. Okay, cool.
Find me on Instagram, and we'll work out the rest.